The first part of our film opening is set in Beaver's estate underpass, which is an extremely conventional location. There's graffiti on the walls of the alleyway, and it's clearly visible on the wall that Mickey kind of sits in front of. The location, being an estate, conforms to the common location of multiple social realism films, such as Fish Tank and Honey Trap. This is a conventional location because it would appear to be a common area for gang crime and drug abuse. However, in the second location in our film opening, it's set in a home, so it's decorated with kind of Christmas decorations and it's not overly messy. This is where we challenge the conventions of social realism films, because generally you would see them living in kind of a rundown apartment that, you know, the family is struggling to live in. But we chose to show a house that was, you know, well kept. It looks like a stable home to kind of emphasize the change that Mickey went through once his mother had passed. So the lighting in the house was also extremely bright, and we used high-key natural lighting from the windows to light the house to give it a very like positive, homely atmosphere almost. The first part of our film opening uses a range of kind of conventional sounds. So although there isn't much dialogue, when Mickey yells to the two girls that just ran off after kicking his cup of change, you can hear kind of the anger in his voice, which is common for a young man who would generally be presented as kind of a violent or aggressive type of person. There are a lot of kind of Foley sounds that would be conventional for a social realism film that we included in our film opening. Things like dogs barking, police sirens, screaming in the background, and a lot of background noise and wind of of the wind and leaves to emphasize kind of what could be called aggressive winds, to kind of match the aggressive nature of his character. On the other hand though, we challenged the conventions when it comes to sound by including a radio styled song that was quite happy and cheerful. We used the song Merry Christmas Everyone, which is obviously about celebration. So generally you wouldn't find that the characters are listening to Christmas carols, regardless of whether it is Christmas or not. Like, they just probably wouldn't be listening to that. Normally the music that you would hear would be of kind of the grime genre, and it would be rap music. So there were also no sirens in the background, there were no dogs barking, so, and the TV was off in the house to reduce background noise and just the volume of everything, so it kind of emphasized how calm it was in the house and how stable everything was. For costume, at the Beaver's estate location, the characters were each dressed to match their kind of lifestyle and personalities. So Mickey was wearing a worn out hoodie with ripped gloves, ripped and really thin jogging bottoms with kind of rugged trainers. So this emphasized his rough living conditions and the fact that he most likely hasn't changed his kind of outfit in a very long time because he has very little money. The two girls that walk past are purposely wearing tight-fitted jeans to show that, they're almost being sexualized. The costumes that we chose for the three friends, who essentially played the role of kind of, extras, and they just walked through the alleyway, they were just in jeans, trainers and boots and jackets to show that, their outfits are weather appropriate, putting emphasis on how cold it was and how Mickey must be feeling in his worn out, wholly, terrible clothing. The costumes that we gave the characters when filming in the house were a lot more comfortable looking and well kept. Aiden is wearing a school uniform to show that he's a student, and he does attend school, implying that, he has a stable home life, a stable lifestyle, and isn't involved in drugs and gangs, which is a main convention of social realism films. We chose to challenge the stereotype of young black boys breaking the law and being involved with gangs by saying that the two boys attend school. Mickey's costume is smart casual because he attends sixth form, which is also kind of shown by his ID badge that he wears around his neck. And this also challenges the conventions of the characters of, characters being conventionally uneducated and rebellious. Mickey and Aiden's mum, she wears a simple costume. It's just a white top with a black cardigan and a cream/brown scarf. The fact that she's dressed to go out kind of implies that she's got somewhere to go, possibly to work, to support the idea that they are financially stable. The characters that I'm going to talk about are Mickey, Aiden, their mum, and the two drunk girls. So Mickey's character in the beginning of the film opening and at the kind of end of his story is him homeless and he's alone. So he breaks the law to earn cash in order to survive on the streets. This is conventional in the sense that after his mother's death, he joined a gang, he sold drugs, and he broke the law. However, before his mother's death, Mickey was a student doing his A-levels, living at home with his mum and his brother, and this isn't conventional because you wouldn't find a young adult like Mickey attending school and trying to get a good education. Aiden only appears in the second half of the film opening, and like Mickey, he doesn't use the conventions of social realism films because he has no involvement with violence and illegal activities. The mother's character both abides by the conventions and challenges them. The fact that she's a single parent is conventional because it's generally seen that the father has either left the family or maybe he's just passed away in some sort of violent attack and their family just has a bad history. However, because she has a job and, you know, they live in a spacious home that looks well kept and decorated, and she does also kind of challenge the conventions when it comes to her and her family. The two girls, they do use the conventions of social realism films, and that's because they're young adults who appear to have no long-term goals or aspirations. They almost look like a lost cause, and it's set in the morning, which hints that, you know, they're coming back from a night out maybe and they were being reckless and irresponsible. So the props in the two locations are obviously very different. In Beaver's Estate we use things like leaves, beer bottles, crumpled cup for Mickey's loose change, and then obviously the loose change itself. There's an old BlackBerry phone, a cigarette and a lighter. In the house we have, you know, the complete opposite. In the style of props, we have a Christmas tree and Christmas decorations. We have food, cutlery, we have a family photo on the fridge and magnets that spell out, you know, the word family, which shows that family means a lot to them. There's a school bag which shows that they attend school, and there are framed paintings to act as decorations in the house. So the props used in the first part, they conform to the conventional props found in social realism films and are often associated with gang culture and criminals. So the leaves emphasize that it's outside and that it's really windy, which links with the criminals being kind of active on the streets, and the loose change and the crumpled cup that look quite old and dirty, emphasizing that he doesn't have much money to spend or to live off of. The cigarette and the lighter can almost be seen as a source of stress relief for Mickey, which is what many people use it for in social realism films, to almost distract them from the chaotic lifestyles that they tend to live. However, the non-conventional props that we used in the second part of our film opening are what make the house seem kind of more homely and imply that they have a stable home life and essentially that they're essentially on the right track. So the family photo on the fridge shows that they're happy together, and the magnet spelling family show that family means a lot to them. Framed painting looks kind of glamorous in a way. It emphasizes that, you know, they want to make their home look good, they care about their home and, you know, the place that they're living in, and it's completely different from the way a home would usually look, because it would normally be like a cramped flat, most likely on a council estate, and it would be cluttered and almost, you know, deteriorating. For the themes, we decided to focus on the theme gang crime by building the story on the London riots, and family by basing Mickey's fall on his mother's death and the loss of his brother. So particularly the gang crime and violence is very conventional for social realism films, as the genre of film tend to demonstrate the hard truth behind the way in which some people live their lives. So Mickey's situation, being on his own with no one to go to for help, is the difficult truth, and we didn't glamorize his situation or make it appear easier than it would be in reality, which is, you know, exactly what a social realism film would do. And finally, editing. We made multiple changes to the appearance of our footage. We made a lot of the frames more blue to emphasize the cold weather and make it look a lot darker, as well as increasing the darker tones so that the high key lighting that we filmed in wasn't contrasting with the atmosphere that we wanted to have. Like, we wanted it to feel gloomy and gritty, but the connotations of high key lighting are positive, so we wanted to, you know, remove the contrast almost. We also used a mixture of archival footage and footage of Mustaf, or the character Mickey, that we filmed to create a montage. So this was extremely fast paced and included multiple cuts. We done this to increase the pace, which is complemented by the several sirens almost mirroring the chaos in the actual London riots.